One of the things that you can do to completely destroy your own confidence is tell yourself you're going to do something and not actually do it. Not actually put in the work to do it, not actually taking the steps towards doing it. And when we don't realize that we are subconsciously conducting this behavior because we don't actually want the goal.
Yeah.
That's when we can see, oh, it has nothing to do with me being capable. It's not because I'm not able to, it's because I've never really wanted this.
Hello, Be Wise family. Welcome back. As you know, here we discuss topics that help you elevate and level up your life and, of course, living your best life. Today, we're going to be discussing an episode that is so important that will help us kick off 2025, and that is none other than setting goals that actually stick. Today, I'm with someone very special who you have seen here today, and that is none other than Rebecca Hansen, and we're cooking up something very extraordinary on January 18th. But before we discuss it, let's hear how she's doing. How have you been? And welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Belise. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How is it going so far?
Very well. We're a few days into the new year, and I think a lot of people spend this time to really think about how did last year go for them, how's next year going to be, and setting a lot of goals and ambitions for themselves. So I'm excited to dive into this conversation.
Same. Last time I spoke to you, I was telling you how a friend of mine was working on their SMART goals, and you pointed out something very good. You were like, I don't believe in SMART goals, and you explained it very well, and I would like us to touch on it. What is the problem with these SMART goals that people tend to always say work, but most of the time they don't?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I also just want to point out that when I talk about I don't like SMART goals, that is for personal individual goals. If you work as a team, there's a lot of benefits to using it. But when it comes to individual goals, first of all, we want to make it measurable, right? That's one of them. I don't like having measurable goals simply because we can't necessarily know when we set out the goal what is it going to look like once we achieve the goal? So I use an example. Let's say that you say, I want to start the goal with, I want to lose 10 kilos, right? It's measurable. I want to lose 10 kilos. Great. But do you know what your body actually looks like when it's lost 10 kilos? Do you know what it loses when you lose 10 kilos? It's not really a good measure for what you want your body to look like, right? It's more about how do you feel in your body? How do you enjoy your body? When you're in a body that you feel looks good. It has nothing to do with the weight.
Yes.
But we put a goal into our heads that we want to lose 10 kilos. What happens is, let's say you end up losing 8 kilos. And in the meantime, you've gained 5 kilos of muscle. So you've actually maybe lost more than 10 kilos of fat. But you look at your goal, you look at the achievement, 8 kilos, and now what? You feel like a failure, right? I didn't reach my goal. But if you had set a different measure, which is, I want to feel amazing in my body.
Yes.
Then you would feel that you had achieved your goal. But feeling amazing in your body is not measurable, really, right? Then you have to put up a lot of different types of measures in order to figure out what does it look and feel like, and how do I tick the boxes to know that I've achieved this goal? Well, you know, right? Because you're you. So when we decide that we want things to be measurable, we can sometimes mess it up simply by looking at the wrong things.
Yeah.
And then if we don't achieve the full measure by the end of the year, we're going to feel like a failure instead of celebrating what we actually did. So that's the first thing I don't like.
Yeah.
The second thing is that we talk about them being realistic and achievable. But when we set goals that are realistic and achievable, we set them based on who are we today? What do I think is possible for me as I am today? And when we do that, we don't set the goal based on who can I become in the pursuit of achieving the goal. So who is the person that I am at the end of the year is not necessarily the same person that you are in the beginning of the year. If you set a goal that stretches you, if you set a goal that's not achievable for you, if you set a goal that is not realistic to you, right? So if you set goals based on what do you think is achievable for you today, then you're going to stay within the comfort zone of what is achievable for you, and you won't have those goals that really push your boundaries in order to create something new for yourself, of expanding into a new person, of doing something that is just really quite amazing.
I like that you touched on becoming.
Yeah.
How does a person adapt that mindset before actually achieving it so that you become the thing or the person you want to actually get to before it happens? Because I notice that we tend to look forward to the thing, but we're still the same individual mindset-wise or thinking-wise or where we're at. How do you transform that part of you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of work at that, obviously. One thing that I like to do is I look at who is the kind of person who already lives the life for whom these goals are just second nature, right? So I would look at, if we use fitness again as an example, I would look at who already has the type of body that I want, who already has that kind of fitness, who's already that type of athletic person, if that's what you want, who's maybe already, if you want to gain weight, you want to lose weight, you find somebody who already is living that life. And then you look at what kind of life do they lead? What kind of values do they have? What kind of things are important to them? And when you do that, you start figuring out, okay, these are all of the gaps that are between who I am and the person that lives the life that I want to have. You can do this in any area of life. It's not only in fitness. We're just using that as an example right now. But that would be, for example, for a lot of people is, they don't snack because they're bored. For example, right?
Yeah.
If you want to lose weight, if you snack when you're bored, probably you're going to, struggle a little bit to lose the weight because you're just eating a lot of calories for no reason at all, right? Without your body really needing it. It could be making more conscious decisions around food, eating foods that are more nutritious, that have higher nutritional density. It could be wanting to do activities where you move instead of wanting to do activities where you sit down and watch Netflix and eat popcorn a whole day, right? Well, how do you define what joy is, what adventure is, what having a good time is? For a lot of people who are fit and athletic, they like moving their bodies. So how can I become the kind of person that likes to move my body? Well, I need to start moving my body, right?
Yes.
So there's a transition period between where you are now and the person that you want to become, where you start living as that person while it feels uncomfortable. And it feels uncomfortable because you've been the person that you are up to now. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes because at some point you learned how to walk and you learned how to read and you learned new skills and you changed. You had your heart broken, you learned from that. You build new friendships, you lost friendships. There's a lot of things that has created the person that you are today. And every single of those steps have changed you to an extent, right? So who are you now? And then when you become that new person, there's just this very uncomfortable period of time where you have to really allow yourself to just dive into being somebody else, trying new things. And the older we get, the more scary it is to try new things, right? When we're not used to it.
Yes. There is a video I saw of a lady explaining that she doesn't do New Year's resolution. Especially at the beginning of the year, people are like, oh, what are your New Year's resolutions? It's like, no, I've had the same goals over the years. I just break them down into chunks. And she was like, imagine yourself as a kid. Like when you tell a kid, you're supposed to do this, they're going to retaliate and tell you, no, I actually want to touch that switch and see what goes on, but it's dangerous. So we tend to self-sabotage by setting these goals instead of adapting that discipline, that value, creating that value in ourselves and wanting to know who we want to become. But I would want you maybe to explain in your perspective what mistakes you see people do along their journey in setting their goals and why they don't achieve them.
There's so much to touch on.
Yeah.
There's so many things to talk about.
I can imagine.
First thing is, and that's actually the last part of the SMART goal as well, is they make them time bound. And it's kind of similar to when we're talking about something being measurable. If you have a deadline for something and you only achieve 80% of what you wanted to achieve within that deadline, you're going to feel like you're a failure, right? Another thing is that you ride the momentum of the new year by saying, this year it's going to be different. This year it's going to be different. This year it's going to be different.
And then by February, you're back to the old self.
Exactly. Because we don't really take seriously what it takes to achieve something sometimes. We think it's about changing what we do. But unless we change who we are, we won't naturally just change what we do. We won't consistently change what we do. And that's why I very often talk about change your identity first. Change who you are first. And then the doing becomes a second nature of who you are. It just becomes, you don't think about it, right? It's like with most of us, we run on autopilot most of the time. I think it's quite commonly accepted that we are mostly run by our subconscious, right? There's very few things throughout our day that we actually make conscious decisions about. And so our subconscious is they're driving our lives.
Some people don't know what the difference between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind.
Okay.
Maybe you could touch on that.
So the conscious mind is that if we sit here and we say, we're going to do this podcast interview, we're going to do that, and we're sitting here and we're having this conversation, and it's very conscious and we're very intentional about it. We know what's going on.
Yeah.
The subconscious mind is the thing that when you go to the fridge and you open the door, you grab something to eat it, but you don't really think about it.
It's part of nature.
It just happens without you actually taking the intentionality of being, okay, I feel like eating something right now. What do I want to eat? I want to have an apple. I'm going to go to the fridge. I'm going to open it. I'm going to grab the apple. I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
You sit there and eat it. Sometimes, I don't know if you've ever tried this. You're going to, you go to your car and you go to work and you show up and you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah, because your brain is like used to it.
So used to it.
Yes.
It's like getting up in the morning, going and brushing your teeth. And all of a sudden you have your toothbrush in your hand and you're like, what just happened?
That's your subconscious mind.
Your subconscious is just driving you. It's like an autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
And what the autopilot does is that it will always bring you to the same destination. It will bring you to the destination that you have decided that this is where the subconscious has said, the autopilot has said, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
So if you say that you're in Kigali and you want to go to Nairobi, the pilot takes off, puts on the autopilot, and then you're going to Nairobi. If the turbulence comes and it beats you off course, it's going to beat you off course for a little bit, but all the calibrations in the autopilot is going to make sure that you get back on track and you end up in Nairobi.
Yes.
And what most people do in the beginning of the year is that they experience the turbulence, the willpower, the motivation. They get beat off course of the autopilot. And then at some point, life happens. Things but next week,
excuses.
Excuses.
Yes.
Not today. And you get recalibrated back into your autopilot and you end up in Nairobi, right? As the example. So what people don't do is that they don't become conscious enough about changing who they are so that the actions become an automatic result of who they are. And then the goals become an automatic result of what they do automatically.
Who they are also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you will always find that the people who achieve the level of success in whatever it is that you want to achieve, they don't actually fight as hard once they've arrived at that station where they've upgraded their autopilot. And it's the same as, it's one of the reasons I very often talk about fitness, because with my fitness journey, I felt like I was fighting myself all the time. I was fighting myself to eat right. I was fighting myself to train right. And my results were just up and down and everywhere.
Yeah.
I would gain a lot of weight and lose weight and gain a lot. And there was just no consistency over a longer period of time until I changed who I was, until I healed my relationship with food, until I changed my relationship with exercise. And all of those things just became kind of a natural result of who I am. And now achieving fitness goals is like the easiest thing in the world.
One thing I've seen with, I love what you've done, by the way, with your fitness, top tier. Seeing her in the gym is another story. I was like, whoa, she is strong. But I've seen that when people tend to set these goals along the way, because your brain is not used to it, that fear comes in. And they feed into that fear and they're like, I feel uncomfortable, so I'm still going to stick to who I am. I understand we have to change who we are, but how do you kind of quiet that fear and go against it?
So one thing I do is that I accept it's part of the journey. I accept it's one of the things that I need to deal with in order to create the results that I want to have. I accept that this is something that I'm learning from. Fear is a great teacher, right? It's a great teacher. It teaches you a lot about, also because we don't all fear the same things. Some people are very scared of some things and other people are very scared of other things. And it's really interesting to dig into, why is this a fear for me? There are some things that are quite natural. I have a fear of heights because when I look down, I'm like, I see myself on the ground. That's literally a fear for my safety, right? But then there are other things like fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being seen, fear of being exposed. There's so many different types of fears that are, for many people, quite similar, but also we have a lot of differences. And what is it really that's holding us back? And it's quite interesting to go back and look at, how was this planted?
Why do I feel it?
Why am I so scared of failing? How was I disciplined as a child in school by parents or caretakers as I grew up when it came to failure, when it came to making mistakes? Why is it that I feel like achieving success in the first round, first time I try, why is it that so important to me? And why am I so terrified that that won't happen? Then we can start looking back at, oh, okay, I see the way that I was, I received love and affection and attention when I did well. And I felt the absence of that when I didn't do well. Or I was punished when I didn't do well. Or we start looking at what are the patterns that have been put into place for me to create these fears that I'm dealing with. And then when we understand that that is not naturally who we are, it's something that has been conditioned. Now we understand, okay, this fear is showing me something. It's showing me a pattern that I have been through in my life. And as adults, we continue the pattern, right?
Yeah.
We've been conditioned to be in a specific way. And we've been conditioned to believe that mistakes and failure are really bad. We've been conditioned to believe that we will be punished. And therefore, as an adult, we continue the pattern, either by avoiding it altogether or by punishing ourselves when we now experience failure or we experience mistakes.
Yes.
And we don't like that, obviously. So when this deep fear, it teaches us something. And some people, they just go against the fear and they keep going, and then they punish themselves when there's mistakes and failure, and then that's how they cope with it. For me, that doesn't really have a lot to do with healing.
Yes.
What is behind the fear? What is behind this? For me, it's more about how do you dig into it and understand it on a deeper level? And how do you release it? How do you allow yourself? And for a lot of people, what would be really beneficial is experiencing a lot of mistakes and failures and see that it's actually not that dangerous.
I like that you've said that because I'm guilty of it. We listen and we don't judge. But I was driven by fear for a long time until I decided to do personal development, personal understanding, and created awareness of where these things stem from. And I realized they just are the reasons that I've been holding myself back to achieving certain things until I stepped into the fear and I faced it and I learned everything that I was scared of, where it came from. Where did I first learn that this is dangerous? Like assuming it's dangerous, which is not, and leaning into it. That's when I started, glowing and growing and becoming a better version of myself. But maybe we can touch on the framework of setting goals. Where does someone start? Right now we're in January 2025. Somebody's saying, okay, I have my paper. That's why I brought my book, because most of the time you'll see people getting a book, writing these goals, and they close it. You'll see it after. What's the steps to take firstly?
So the very first thing I would ask is, why do you have these goals? And not the whole start with why. That's also important. But so many people set goals based on other people's definitions of success. And if you're trying to create a life based on what other people have taught you success looks like, then you are subconsciously going to reject achieving that goal because it's not actually connected to you. It's not actually something that you want.
It's not aligned with who you are.
It's not aligned with who you are. And also, if we have been conditioned to believe that this is what success is supposed to be, and maybe you've achieved some of those already, and you realized, I did not find happiness here. I don't know if you've ever tried that. We've been told this is what you're supposed to do because this will make you happy, or this is what success looks like. And then we do it and we achieve it and we're like, I'm miserable here.
Yeah, I've been there. You're like, why did I even do? Why did I struggle?
Why did I even struggle?
Just maybe
so
because
much?
you saw someone else do it, which most people do, by the way.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it, how people tend to do things because they've seen someone else do them instead of like being more in tune.
Yeah. And when you do that, then subconsciously you see all of these goals. You don't feel emotionally or individually connected to them.
Yeah.
Your subconscious is going to be like, we don't actually want to go there. And now you put yourself into a position where you've written down goals. You've told yourself you're going to do it. You don't understand why you're not working on achieving them. And now you feel like a failure. And now you've done this on repeat several years in a row. What happens now is that you put a goal. Subconsciously, you're telling yourself, but you're not going to do it. You know you can't do this.
Yeah.
One of the things that you can do to completely destroy your own confidence is tell yourself you're going to do something and not actually do it. Not actually put in the work to do it, not actually taking the steps towards doing it. And when we don't realize that we are subconsciously conducting this behavior because we don't actually want the goal, that's when we can see, it has nothing to do with me being capable. It has nothing with me it's not because I'm not able to, it's because I've never really wanted this. This is my mom's dream. This is my uncle's dream. This is my auntie's dream. This is just what I saw on social media and somebody looked happy. Guess what? People on social media are just as, unhappy as anyone else on a bad day.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's really important that you sit down and you figure out, do I feel any type of emotional connection or excitement about this goal that I've written down? Why is it really that I want to achieve this goal? And is it me who wants to achieve it? Or have I just been conditioned to believe that this is what a good life is supposed to be?
Right? I like that you've touched on confidence, because it takes confidence to actually achieve goals, I met a lady on New Year's Eve, and she was like, Belise, I really want to be like you when I grow up. I'm like, why do you say that? She's like, you go on social media and you speak and it's normal. And I sat down and I actually thought of it. I'm like, why does she think this way? And I realized the confidence came from doing what I feared. Like, I had to throw myself into it. And I wanted to give her the talk at the time, but it was a bit not the right time. But I think the first thing is asking yourself, what do you want to do, and go for it and step into it. But the fear tends to hold us back. And I love the fact that you have touched on it. I love who you have become, who you are right now. Would you mind giving us an example of your old self or the old mindset that you had that you feel like everybody still has, and how you navigated into it that has helped you achieve most of your goals right now?
I think one thing I did a lot was set goals from my head. I set goals from what I thought was the smart thing to do. I set goals based on, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what life is supposed to be in order for it to be good. And then I would start doing them, and I would just be miserable doing them. I would be miserable achieving them. If I achieved them, even, I wouldn't be happy that I achieved them. It just felt like no big deal, really. And very often I would never even achieve them. I would get somewhere and I would just give up because I was just not connected to it. And what I really changed was I changed my approach to the goals. So one thing that I didn't feel very connected to was setting a specific goal for how much money I wanted to make. First of all, because for a very long period of time in my life, I did not have a lot of influence over how much money I was going to make. There was always a cap somewhere based on what the budget was in the organization that I worked for. So it always felt like I didn't really have full control over that. I would set goals based on fitness as well. I would lose this much weight. I would do this and this and that. And I felt like I had to really struggle and restrict myself and contain myself and suffer to achieve those goals.
And you weren't happy, I can imagine.
I was not happy. I was not happy in pursuing them. I was not happy in achieving them. So what I did is that instead of focusing on, okay, this is how much money I want to make. And this is not to say that making money is a bad goal. I'm a big fan of making money and setting money goals. But what I changed is that I wanted to change how I showed up in the pursuit of the money. So instead of focusing on, I want this money in, it was like, I want this service out. I wanted to focus on, how do I serve more people? How do I get wider reach? How do I, so it was more about, how do I change more lives or help people change their lives? How do I support the people who need what I can offer? And then all of a sudden it went from being there was almost resistance, because I didn't like the idea of just going out and telling people to give me money. It was like, that's not really what it's about. How about you start talking about how you can help people? How about you show up as someone, imagine there's someone out there who needs your help.
Create solutions, basically. Yeah.
No, but also imagine someone out there needs your help.
Yes.
And you're not putting yourself out there because you feel awkward about talking about money.
Yes.
It was like, but who are you really? If you're here with a purpose, who are you to sit at home and not fulfill it, right? So I really just changed that mind. I changed that approach, and all of a sudden I had more money coming in. I was like, and I didn't even feel like I was doing a lot to get that money. It just happened. And when it came to the fitness goals, it was much more about, how can I figure out a way to enjoy the journey of achieving these goals? So how can I get excited about eating healthy? And instead of trying to restrict myself all the time, how can I get excited about all the foods that I can eat and that I feel good about eating, and cook them in a way that, I feel tastes really good and still support me on my journey? How can I get excited about going to the gym? How can I get excited about measuring progress in the gym, right? So I started following specific programs where I could actually see this is what's happening. I started getting really excited about cooking, started getting really excited about, there's so much you can eat. And actually, most people, they try to restrict themselves in eating. They try to reduce it. Like, I need to eat less and less and less calories. Most people who are on a weight loss journey would benefit so much more from just eating a lot of vegetables.
Yeah.
Eat as many vegetables as you can physically fit into your body throughout the course of a day. You'll go to bed full and you will lose weight.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I love the fact that you've said that because when I started working on certain goals that I managed to achieve, especially in 2024, I changed my mindset from saying, I need to do this to I need to show up for myself. How can I show up for myself today? Oh, is it going for that walk? Or is it connecting with a friend? Because people think goals, it's you, but we need community sometimes. You need all these things. So if we can learn to start showing up for ourselves, I think that's where the aha comes in. You start loving yourself, actually. You start feeling more elevated. You're proud. The confidence comes in and it's more sustainable, I think, because now you're falling in love with it, which is what I like that you call it from, you said mind goals to heart goals or head goals to, so it's more part of you and you get to grow with it. But overcoming the challenges, I would want you to talk about, let's say you're on your journey of getting your goals done, but life throws a curveball at you. For example, you lose a close relative, you lose that contract that you thought you were meant to do. How do you get yourself back up and not give up? Because the motivation is gone. You're not feeling, yes, I can do it. But the downs are supposed to be there. It's part of the journey. But how can somebody still show up and go out there even when the curveballs of life are there?
I think you get there because of the curveballs that life threw at you.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, whenever we want something that's bigger than us right now, I want to achieve a goal that I haven't achieved yet. And you tell yourself, and you tell, out into the whoever is your creator that you believe in, you say, I'm ready for this. Well, guess what? You're going to get tested. Are you ready for this?
How bad do you want it?
Not just how bad you want. The one thing that I've noticed is that the challenges that I am being thrown when in the pursuit of the goal that I want to achieve are designed meticulously to help me develop the skills that I need in order to be a match for the goal. So if you see these challenges as being a blessing in disguise that is meant to help you develop into the person who is deserving of the goal that you're trying to achieve. Most people want good things without going through bad things, and that's just not how it works. The bigger things that you want the good things, but guess what? You need to be able to overcome the bad things that come as a match to it. You want to be a public speaker, but you want everybody to like you? No. That's not going to work. Somebody's not going to like what you have to say. And you have to be able to be the kind of person who can deal with that. And the first curveball that's going to be thrown your way is your auntie coming and telling you that you're absolutely ridiculous thinking that you can be a public speaker, because what kind of stuff do you even have to say that people want to hear?
I think that mindset also creates leaders. There's a quote I read once from Vusi Tembokwayo. He said, if you're not ready to be disliked, criticized by what you do or whatever you're trying to achieve, someone is going to, then you're not ready to be a leader. Because for you to get to that peak, you're going to have those enemies, somebody not liking what you do, but it's part of the journey.
Yeah, it is. And you dealing with it is part of what helps you become the person that can achieve the things that you want to in life. So when you say that you want something really bad and then life hits, right? And sometimes it's not obvious how it's going to help you. Let's say that life hits and a relative passes away. The big things in life come when you can lead yourself through painful situations and still keep you on track to achieve the goal that you want to have. That's when you show up for yourself, right? In talking about showing up for yourself. I was going through a really tough time last time when I did my second TEDx, like really, really hard time.
Yeah.
And I got on stage and I delivered and I memorized the whole thing. I got my dress on, I got my makeup done, and I had a smile on my face. And I've never felt as powerful in my life being able to deliver something that required me to show up, not just for me, but for the people I was talking to. And not coming out and saying, there will be other TEDx's. Let me move talking to the organizers, can we do this next year instead? No, I was going to show up and I was going to be the kind of person who can do things even when things are hard. Because nothing is ever only one thing. I decided I want to enjoy the process of doing this thing that I've been wanting to do. I want to enjoy the experience of standing on stage and giving my second TEDx while acknowledging that I'm going through pain.
That's where the strength comes in.
That's where the strength comes in. But what a lot of people don't allow themselves to do is to enjoy good things when they're going through bad things.
We expect it to be a smooth ride the whole... No, that's
not
life.
Ourselves that we have to be in pain when we're in pain all the time. Imagine you lose a relative and you have a good day a week later. How dare you?
Yeah.
Right? How dare you have a good day? But if you want to be the kind of person who can do really good things, you need to be able to show up when you're having a good day, when you're having a bad day.
And be grateful.
Yes. And allow yourself to enjoy the good things that come with it.
What you're touching on is so important, honestly, because I just remember myself like 4 years ago when just navigating through life, but didn't know what all these things were, what I wanted, but I had family pressures telling me what to do. I had family pressures telling me you have to take this course. This is where the money's at and all. But eventually I found a path that is not meant for what people are saying, but what's meant for me. But it took me time. I wasted so many years, but I wouldn't say I wasted because I learned a lot along the way. So I think what you're saying is so important, and we're going to dive into this so much more. I would like us to touch on the event that's coming up on January 18th. Super excited. It's the Breakthrough Circle, and it's going to be all about the year of you. What should people expect?
People should expect. So one thing I want to say first is that I really want to create a space where people can share and where they can, not just ask questions, but actually share their reflections and share their own journeys. Because what very often happens, and I've seen this at events in Rwanda a lot.
Yes.
You say out, okay, we have questions, 30 seconds, everyone, only questions. And someone gets the mic and then they say, this is not a question, this is a comment. Yeah. And everyone in the room just goes like,
yes.
They get up, they give the comment. The comment is 10 minutes, not 30 seconds, and the moderator is annoyed and the crowd is annoyed. I want to create the space where people are allowed to comment.
Yes.
And we know that when someone grabs the mic, it's not necessarily a question. It is an input to a discussion. I want us to be able to have a space where we can share with each other.
Be open.
Yeah. And where it's not frowned upon to want to comment. Because even if you're sitting in the crowd and you're like, I had a comment too, but I wasn't going to do that because, you've tried that.
Yes, I've been there. Super excited for this event. It's going to be the first of its kind in Rwanda. You don't want to miss. And we're going to have several events related to this: personal development, growth, mindset, entrepreneurial, financial, all this roots to your mindset. It's going to be a lemon. And we're going to put some information below on how to get your tickets. Make sure you don't miss because there's so much knowledge to learn. I'm learning, we're learning. And of course, we have Rebecca Hansen, a powerful transformational leadership coach with us. So it's a blessing. Be there and bring your pen and paper. And if you have any questions from what we have spoken about, make sure to bring it because we're going to dive deeper into it. Yeah. Thank you so much. And
I want to just add also that this is very much about creating goals that are aligned with what you want to do. And even you might sit with your goals at home and think, all of these are programmed. None of these excite me. I don't know what excites me. I think a lot of people sit with that. So if that's you, this is also for you. If you have no idea what your goals are going to be, if you already know what your goals are going to be, but you're not really sure how to navigate it, if you want to figure out how do I transform these goals from being head goals to heart goals, just come. This is about creating a year that's for you, not for somebody else.
Definitely. Do not miss. And I'm super excited. And thank you so much for allowing me to co-host this event with you. It's going to be huge and can't wait to see the turnout and everything that will be there. Come comfortable because it's going to be very educational. Shout out to all the subscribers. Make sure to hit that subscribe button only on Be Wise Podcast.